If I'm against something and I'm not for something, I'm a
Mm.
victim.
The victim within is the one that kills us in the end. Any place I'm putting blame out there, I'm probably doing the same with myself.
If I'm already coming from the past, what am I creating in that moment is probably just another version of the past.
You trying to prove that you're right about something? Or are you actually just going to be honest and share how you feel?
The masculine is clear and certain and orders the pizza, and the feminine eats it. Welcome to episode 13 of Real Aware Women. Here we are recording for the first time remotely from 3 different locations. Welcome, my amazing co hosts, Ami Patel and Jane Boland.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
Hello, hello. All right. Well, I'm super excited. Again, we're doing this remote for the first time. I'm live from Idaho, and you two are. Tell us where you're at, what you're doing.
I'm in Stuart, Florida at my office here.
Jane. Oh, no.
And
Okay.
and I'm in Jupiter Farms out of my new home office, which is super exciting.
That's great. That's great. Okay. So, in the last couple episodes, we've really been asking our listeners to share comments, share feedback. And yes, we've been getting it. So I wanted to kick off and just share some of the feedback that we've been getting. And again, super thrilled about it. Let's see, where did I put that feedback? Ah, here we are. One of our listeners on episode 9, who's listened to quite a few, another thought provoking and powerful episode. I can definitely put some of this into practice. I especially liked what you said that not being honest with somebody else is because we don't think that they can handle it and that we need to believe more in their greatness. So, loved that feedback. Um, Another viewer on episode 6, your conversation reminded me of the Bible verse, Ephesians 4:26. In your anger, do not sin. Anger is a normal human emotion, and God knows we are going to experience it, but how we use it and express it and resolve it has to be in a way that doesn't cause harm to ourselves or others. I liked that. Um, Another viewer, listener, I just finished listening to your first podcast and it was so powerful and inspirational. I loved listening to you ladies speak so openly on purpose over personality. I look forward to listening to the rest. Fantastic. Thank you. And then I love a podcast that speaks to how to build myself into a better person and also gives me real life techniques to use. This one is it. I've never been so excited about new episodes. Love that. And then I love your podcast. I've listened to 4 of them, and you all are fantastic together. A lot of wisdom and practicality and experience between the 3 of you. So it's great, right? Great to get some
Excellent.
actual real
Yeah.
life
Thanks for the
feedback.
feedback.
Absolutely. Feels really good to hear that and to know that, our conversations are making a difference. I love it.
Yeah. And if we would have gotten any negative, I would have read that too, but we didn't. So I'm not calling the herd. I'm just sharing what we've gotten so far. So hopefully we will, keep sharing what you're getting, any questions you have, which leads me to my next topic. We did get a question from a listener, which I thought would be really fun for us to explore here. So the question is, this is from episode 9 also, which was on courage, honesty, and integrity. The homework was to see where you needed to have more bold conversations. I'm having issues with my in-laws, and this episode inspired me, but I have had bad experiences in the past with them when my husband and I have tried to be honest. How can you have bold, honest conversations with others who may not be open to taking responsibility? All right, who wants to take a
Awesome.
first stab at that?
I'll go ahead and take a wee stab.
Okay.
I'll pull out my katana. Okay, so one of the things I was feeling, even from the feedback that we received earlier on not hurting people and stuff like that, it's I feel like it's great to create agreements right from the get-go. So in other words, if I'm putting my attention on what it is that I want to say to somebody, I know, number one, I have my facts or whatever that I've laid out. But how much of it is a projection versus how much of it is coming from what I might want to experience in myself or own as myself, taking responsibility. So in order to not hurt or not come from a place that is projectile, the primary thing, agreement with self, would be to be self responsibility. So I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to own what I'm feeling here, how it makes me feel, just this the circumstance or conversation, and being vulnerable, honest from the get go. I feel really creates a good space. It's okay to ask them to do that too. I feel, like, why don't we just share how we feel, what's going on with us? That also cuts down on the possibility to hurt. The other thing is, hurting is up to the individual. So if I'm going to get hurt by something you said, like we spoke about on our recent podcast, then I might want to look at what it is that's getting hurt rather than you're hurting me. So this is another powerful agreement to make. Like, let's agree that if we're projecting, that we can also own whatever it is on our end again, and vice versa. Is this making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had a little internet connection issue there, but yeah, I think that's great perspective. Jane, what's your feel?
Yeah, no, Ami, I love what you're saying about that. It's like starting with yourself first, right? So
Mhm.
the agreement with self, but one of the things I think even breaking it down is like, what's the purpose? So you want to have a bold conversation. What's the purpose of that conversation? Are you trying to prove that you're right about something? Are you trying to get an outcome from somebody? Or are you actually just going to be honest and share how you feel? And I think asking yourself that question, just like, what is my purpose here? Oh, am I looking
Nice.
for, and 9 times out of 10, you're looking for something. I know because I've been looking for something versus, oh, I'm having this conversation because the purpose is to communicate. But I think in the world, there's this like, I communicate my feelings. So somehow you're going to change your behavior, you're going to change your feeling, right? Versus the purpose is, I really just want to share with you how this is for me and be okay with there's no outcome from that.
Yeah,
There's,
Powerful.
that it's just the conversation. And so when you let that go, I would also akin that to letting go of attachment, the attachment for the outcome, the attachment of what you think should happen. And coming from that space, clear and neutral, I mean, they're just, like a little kid doesn't think about, what's the purpose of me coming and talking to you? But they're like, just like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling.
yeah,
Yeah.
And even using that, right? It's a little bit of a trick, right? Like to imagine that the person in front of you is little Jane on the Zoom telling you what she thinks and how she feels in this moment versus the adults that has wrapped up in all the stories that you have, because this is the trick, right? Is that we take the past and we throw it into the future because we're not getting present. Going back to our last, I'm not sure which episode it was, but
right.
where Ami, you powerfully walked everybody through, hey, this is what it looks like to actually be present, speaking from that space. So that's my feel.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, those
big.
are great perspectives. I think what comes up for me is I feel like, and this could be my own projection on even the question, but there's already an automatic make wrong, right? Like something, like the in laws are doing something wrong, and my husband and I want to talk to them because we want to take responsibility. We want them to take responsibility for what's not working. And that's, not saying that's where this question is coming from, but I know, in my life where I've done that, where like I want to have a bold, honest conversation. A lot of times it's like, oh, I want to have a conversation to tell you how you're wrong versus
Yeah.
versus what like you said, what's the actual intention? And it's often it lies over here with that projection. And again, if I'm already coming from the past, well, I've had conversations like this, they tend to go like this, then what am I creating in that moment is probably just another version of the past. So I do think that ability to get clear and kind of blank slate it and create newly versus from the past is a really powerful, way to go into these honest conversations. Because I do think that might be an interpretation of bold, honest conversation is let me go tell people how I really feel when it's
Yeah.
really a projection of make wrong. So, and I'm trying to think of an example because that was another piece of feedback someone gave me is I'd like to hear more real examples of what this looks like in reality. So hopefully one of you
So
guys have.
I will totally, tell one on myself. So, I don't know if my mom listens to these podcasts, but mom, if so, this one's about you. Um, so, you know, I've been really, all mothers' daughters, right? You get upset with your mom. The details of why was upset doesn't matter, but I was upset and I was like mad. Okay. And this is pretty recently. And there was the part of me that wants to just go in and just yell at her because I'm mad, and wanted to share. And so I did really own that I created this. She definitely probably had a different perspective, but I also knew it was important for me to share how I felt about the situation because I had not done that in the last, I don't know, 50 years, right? So I thought, hey, maybe I should really tell her. And what I want to share about this experience is I was clear and neutral to the extent that I was. And when I
Sure.
started to speak to her, I did get emotional. Like I could feel it welling up. I used the skill of getting present to just get more present, experience what I was happening in the body, the emotion that was running, and the tears, the leaking was happening. And I said, Mom, I just want you to know I see all this is happening right here, but the message is this. And I was clear with her, and I had no outcome. And I must have said 4 or 5 times, like, I'm really not trying to make you wrong here. I just really want you to understand how this feels to me. And I love you, and your relationship with me as a woman matters. And then I just sort of gave it some space, allowed myself to feel the things. There was a lot of long silence at the end, which I wasn't used to either. And in the end, she didn't run in and do anything amazing. It was just like a knowing. And I trained myself, bless my psychologist dad, that like there would be a bow at the end of every conversation. We don't go to bed angry, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I really let that go. And then the next day she showed up just like, it was like magic.
Mm.
Now, if you ask my mom that, and mom, if you're listening, I don't know if you were aware of that, but it was a totally different experience. And I really feel, and I've decided I don't need to recreate that again with her. This feeling that I had like she was dismissing
Mm.
me or that I was not valued and that it was disrespectful. Now, maybe I do, maybe it'll happen, but I wanted to share it's a real life example because sometimes, like, even when I gave the answer I gave, maybe you could misperceive that as being like super neutral, clear, like ready to go. You're going to feel what you feel. Like the things are
Yeah.
going to come up. Um, but I was just honest and there was no objective. I didn't want her to say, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
just wanted her to hear. And it really did occur to me that she has no idea that sometimes the way those things are said land the way that they do. And of course, I own I create that, and this is my projection, right? But it really did make for a powerful conversation. And that little bit at the end, guys, like letting go, nothing
Yeah.
had to happen. You don't need to do, I didn't need to schedule a follow-up. Like it's just, okay,
Yeah.
we had a convo. Cool. Moving on. Let's have dinner, you know? So that's my
Super
example.
powerful. Yeah, it is. And what I love about it is the dichotomy there because on one hand we're saying, take responsibility, own it within self, and be honest, vulnerable, know your motive, what it is you want from them. And then you're like, hey, I want you to listen to me for a second. But in that moment, it feels like the right thing. And that's where intuition comes in. That's where discernment comes in, where it's like, all right, you know what? I am taking ownership. I am vulnerable. I'm honest. I can feel all these things, where my hook is, or the games I'm playing, et cetera, et cetera. And at the same time, here I am, I'm laying it out. This is what I'm asking of you. You know, whether it's language people want to talk about, like, you shouldn't say I want you to or whatever. But in that moment, Jane, it just felt like you're making a request from your heart. I
Yeah.
don't feel like it's like oh, I'm telling you what to do, listen to me, here's what you should do, here's what you're doing wrong or right or whatever it is. It's like, you know what, I'm feeling this, and I'm asking, and yes, it's a bomb drop ask, or like more aggressive, I could say, or demanding is probably the word, but that demand is coming from love. And fierce love, we've talked
Mm.
about it before on this show,
Yeah.
is not, love is not just being nice. Love is both sides, all sides, you
Yeah.
could say. Where it's like, no, if I have to demand something of you, if I have to be fierce or ruthless, I can still be compassionate and loving by demanding your highest and best in mine. Doing that is a skill and art to practice when you can really come from love with compassion as well as ferocity, right?
Yeah,
I love
beautiful.
it. Yeah, I think too, this idea that conversations have to always be neat or end well versus sometimes you do just need to get something off your chest. And that's also okay too, right?
For
Like
sure.
I think society lately, right? It's like everyone's so careful on what they say and what words they use. And it's kind of nice to be a little bit unleashed sometimes and just deal with what you get. And it doesn't have to always be great. Like it can sometimes be really messy or really uncomfortable, but those kind of conversations tend to move things forward. And again, they
Mm-hmm.
may not feel good, and there may be some carnage, but it's like it's okay. Like it's okay to say something and it not always be articulated perfectly, or yeah, like people get offended. It's like, well, that's on you. It's I think as a society, the more we can get comfortable again with, yeah, like if you get offended, I'm interested, I want to support you, but that's really on you. It's not me. So I think there is something to like being unleashed and having more freedom to not be so careful, because all that gets bottled up inside and then, turns into something, sickness or road rage or something that can be quite harmful.
Yeah, and
Wendy,
I oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just going to riff on this really quick
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what was coming to me as you said that was, well, because society turns around if they don't like what you said, and it's like, you know what? This is my boundary. Oh, you have a boundary? Okay. And then there's like you're toxic, which is generally we're talking about men, but it's also women. So there's these quick labels that happen, right? Oh, I don't like what you're saying, boundary. Oh,
Right.
what? Well, you can't
Right.
even hear maybe what needs to be said. And then the toxicity thing, right? Like everyone's toxic, toxic, which really in my world means toxic equals I don't like what you're saying.
Right.
Um, which, you know what? That's okay to see the other perspective. So I think looking at it, that there is this sort of just group agreement around, we all just want to feel good all the time, which is not a problem. Like I love feeling good in many ways. We can talk about that all day long, right? But I also don't want to do it at the expense of my own growth,
Yeah.
right? At the expense of my own growth, I'm unwilling to hear this other side. You know what? I didn't
Right.
like that my parents didn't think I should be underage drinking. Okay, got it. This is a stupid example, but like think about that, right? Like, well, they're going to tell you that, right? Am I going to be like, boundary, toxic parents? Like, it's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
if people can just see, I mean, I'm making jest of it because it's like idiocracy. If you can see that that label gets slapped everywhere for everything,
For sure.
and it really is just a matter of I don't like it, which is like, wah, I'm 6 and I don't like it. Sorry, I'm feeling really punchy today.
Well,
Okay.
it's good. Punchy's good. What I'm feeling is to the degree you're recalcitrant or unwilling is to the degree you're going to receive unwillingness and recalcitrance from the other side.
100%.
So when both of you were talking just now, what it's bringing up for me is that feeling of rules for me and not for thee, or
Ooh.
complete delusion and denial of what my end of a creation is. Everything in the cosmos, including right here, right now, and us, it's all made out of the same cosmic dust, and like energy attracts like. So whatever I'm creating somebody to say to me, They could be harsh, brutal, all sorts of things. And yes, absolutely, what you think of me is none of my business. At the same time, it would be in my best interest to look at why I would attract that into my space. Why would I be feeling that? What kind of target do I have in me? What is the belief that I'm holding in myself that can create somebody to feel this way? So everything's meeting, like there's always like this two end, it takes two to tango, I could say,
Yeah.
right? So there is, again, a beauty, a skill, of art behind, all right, this is what you said. I feel the anger charge or whatever is going on. There's something being said to me that is coming from anger or projection. We could deflect that all day long very easily. I think the higher art or even the higher love of it would be, all right, well, whatever you're feeling is what you're feeling, but what does it make me feel? Because that's what the target is. Whatever it makes me
Yeah.
feel is exactly what attracted it in the first place.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful concept, but I also think it's probably one of the most challenging ones to like take on
Mm-hmm.
and accept. I'll say it, I think we've talked about this a bit in past episodes. Maybe we even did an episode on it. But if you take on, what you're seeing out there is what you're being internally, it does open up a whole new world for you. And
Yeah.
there's the good side of that, right? Because when great things happen, you're like, awesome, that's what I'm being. So I'm attracting greatness and winning and really powerful. And that's easy to accept. It's the other side, right? When bad things start happening or less than ideal things start happening or someone shows up in your face, being in your viewpoint irrational or divisive, and then you've got to be like, wow, what am I over here creating that would have that show up? So maybe let's delve into that a little bit more, because obviously that's something that we've really taken on because it's created a lot of passion and power in our lives, and we get results, but it is a hard one for most to take on. So, I guess what are some ways for maybe those that are listening, like, I'm not taking that on. I don't create, war. I don't create protest. I don't create, fill in the blank to, give some access so that it does maybe create movement.
So one of the things I just wanted to say about that again is like this, there's a social indoctrination around how like our makeup. Okay. So I see this is just like I'm riffing here, but you know, my our generation, right? Our parents were not emotional, and then we learned that there's like emotions, we could have them. And then there was this like be responsible for your emotions. You're responsible for yours, and you over there are responsible for yours. I don't create how you behave. So it's sort of like baseline psychology stuff. Like I don't create
Sure.
how you behave. Your behavior is a function of X, Y, and Z from the past or this, that, and the other. Okay. So I think society generally has a little bit of that. Like and it feels almost like first step in responsibility is like, yes, I'm responsible for myself. Perfect. But also the next domain, and why would you even go there? I'm responsible for creating the behavior I'm experiencing out here is because that's where power is. Otherwise, you're just like going from relationship to relationship and person to person, recreating the same thing in a different gender, different form, different scenario. And then you're wondering, maybe at some point you have a big aha, like blind spot moment. They're all related. Hey, whoa, hold on. I am the common denominator. Right? I mean, it's awesome, but that's what I'm hearing here is like, and I think this noticing that I'm saying we, but I'm saying society generally, right? Like there is this is how it is. So it's really good to be responsible for your emotions, and I'm going to be responsible for mine, you be responsible for yours. What I think we're saying is, hey, next level power is you can shape and form your reality if you really get there's a part of you that's creating that. And if this time they showed up in your boyfriend, so for me personally, personal example, I was like, why in my high school 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, was I creating the same relationship over and over and over again. Part of me knew it was, but I didn't think it was, but I sort of
Yeah.
thought it was. And then I was like, I know this has to do with self-care. I probably just don't care about myself enough. No, no, no. Let's take it super deep, right? Like, no, I didn't value myself. So I created men in my life to show me that no value in all kinds of forms, all different. And until I started to value myself, and by the way, this is ongoing, folks. This isn't like a check the box, you got it.
Right.
I'm constantly looking at this because it's like, oh, it's very sneaky. And that like no value shows up all kinds of places, but I keep going after it. And guess what? Next level of power, next level of power, next level of power. And now I'm like, ooh, my relationships are good. I feel great about my husband. I love the men in my life. Okay, this is amazing. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I just wanted to give that indoctrination piece and why. Like, why would you do it? Because I mean, you're going to be living anyways. Why not do it the best you can?
Sure,
I
for
love it.
sure. And I can feel as you were speaking, Jane, what's coming up, and especially when you're talking about like decade after decade, and you start to like see the patterns, even if it takes 5 decades or whatever it is. So, what I was looking at is like how fast consciousness has been moving, especially in the last like 15, 20 years. It's accelerated big time. And, at this point, we're able to see when we're charged and not. Most people are self-aware enough to understand these things. I'm
Yeah.
mad, I'm not mad, I'm blaming you, I'm not blaming you. And yes, we can deny and maybe we might realize it later. But I think what's going on now is more of like the hidden subconscious stuff, the stuff where it looks like I'm absolutely right, and I'm going to assert that my self-righteousness and we've got a lot more confidence in society and ourselves now that the narcissism is seeping out as well. And it's great to own confidence and authority as a human race, and at the same time learning to allow and have discernment and see and mature is part of it. So Wendy, I appreciate you bringing up war and these protests and stuff, because really if we're looking at Iran and the No Kings rally, in terms of what's coming up for me right now in this conversation, we're looking at forces. Let's say we have masculine and feminine forces. Okay. There are cultures that are masculine and groups of people that are masculine or feminine. And so we've got this like no kings. Is that anti-masculine? We can say, I would say it is. And then we've got females mostly, okay, or betas, right? Men that I'm not sure how many of them are men, but we've got beta males, females, no kings, no kings. Little bit of penis envy, I'll say, right? So here we are getting pissed off. We don't want a daddy. You don't tell us what to do. We have no clue what we're doing, right? We're obviously showing that we're really not in command of ourselves. What do our lives look like? We're really vying for entitlement versus, hey, you know what? I'm going to build myself or build my crew of people or whatever you call your society or your friends, your tribe, your circle, and say, hey, why don't we lift ourselves up and be our greatest? Then there's no like trying to vie for a spot or trying to destroy to get a spot or feeling entitled. I'm just giving it to myself, right? And then we're looking at Iran. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say, Iranian people, I have met beautiful Iranian people. The culture of Iran is stunning. There's so much that has come out of that region, really, that's beautiful. Okay. And then I just realized I have this like lantern here. And, then we've got this America the masculine. We're going to come in and bomb you, is what people feel, right? Like America's trying to create war and override this, and it's all just for oil. Uh, Actually, there's a massive agenda going on of recalcitrance. So whether it's protesters saying no kings, whether it's people feeling like, oh, there's no problem with the Islamic agenda in America. They just want a couple mayors here and a few things there until Dearborn, Michigan has Sharia law, has its own Sharia police. They have their own government, and I believe they have a city hall, if I'm correct. Now, if we look at England, it is in shambles. I watched Europe. I was lucky enough to visit like 5 countries in Europe one year, right before, not right before, but enough before all the being deliberate with my words, unwanted immigration, or yeah, all the unwanted immigration, because immigration is great. Every country loves immigration if they're really real about it. But when it's coming in and they're not handling it correctly, it turns into a mess. So I was lucky enough to be there before all this happened. It was beautiful to see each country express to this as themselves. And now I'm seeing how things have been muddled, in Canada included where I'm from.
Yeah.
Britain is in shambles, and many of their mayors are now Muslim or Islamic. Now, again, I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against the Muslim religion. I have plenty of friends. I have people that work for my family in India that are Muslim. I have no problem with the Muslim religion. I have a problem with the extremism and the agenda, the insidious hidden agenda that has taken over many countries, and it's starting to show up here. So again, whether we're talking about no kings, whether we're talking about the war in Iran, whether we're talking about the Islamic agenda, it's recalcitrance of the feminine. The feminine is like, no, I know better. I feel like shit. It's all your fault. I'm angry. F you. You hurt my feelings. In other words, we've got huge victim complexes screaming and yelling for justice when they themselves are in the wrong and they're not seeing what a right order society looks like. So I've been talking a lot. I know you guys know I could go on and on about this, but I'm going to
Yeah.
pause a bit here and let you guys jump in because I think this is all correlated right from the beginning of our conversation to these issues in the world right now.
No, absolutely. I think what comes up for me around it is like lack of authority or, denial of authority, resistance to authority. And so everything out there that feels commanding, feels authoritative, there is that like automatic no, or
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong there, or it's too much. And again, I can see in myself where when I'm not commanding or I'm not taking authority over my life and what I'm creating, it's very easy to fall into that victim mode, right? And then
Yeah.
see it everywhere versus really, owning all the results of my life, good and bad, taking command, taking authority, and then being able to look at what's going on out there through that lens and really be able to see some inspiring stuff because I can look at it now through that lens versus that victim identity, which again is so easy to fall into, especially when you're dealing with what feels like very external, out there world stuff. Because I think for me, I used to always or never thought that that was a reflection of me or that I could
Yeah,
impact
sure.
that. Now, granted, I have a completely different perspective and impact the world every day through who I'm being. But that's what really comes up for me is that like resistance to authority. And believe me, I've got a strong identity around that I've had to squash over the years.
We all have one.
For
We've
sure.
all had
So
them.
one of the
Yeah,
things I thought would be useful to unpack, Ami, is like when we talk about masculine and feminine, I just want to recouch for our listeners,
for sure.
we're not talking about female. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about your gender this moment. Like this is you as a woman and there's a recalcitrance now there is, right? But I just want to reframe it so everyone gets like there's the masculine and feminine in every human being. It's what there is. There's the animal and the angel. And so as you talked about that, I was feeling like, yes, there is this, and the feminine, there's both the empowering and the limitation side of it, right? And the limitation side is our recalcitrance. And it's that insidiousness that, and it doesn't mean you're a victim because you're female. It means if that's the attitude and beingness you're going to take on, meaning in a simpler form, if I'm against something and I'm not for something, I'm a
Mm,
victim,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you look at the no kings, I'm totally against this. What are you for?
yeah.
Right.
Even when you look at the war in Iran, like there's a lot of feelings about it, and I think you said it precisely. I mean, there's sort of this like America's like taking over, bombing, wants the oil. I mean, I think you did the same face. Like, I'm not so sure that's the case. If you can fully understand that there's a totally different agenda that is there's a reason that we had to deal with Iran when we dealt with Iran right now at this point in history, and that if all you see in the headlines is that America's bombing for oil, that's one
Yeah.
news network you're listening to. Why don't you go speak to an Iranian American about how their people are super excited, are looking forward to
Yeah.
being freed,
Yeah.
that they consider themselves Persians, that 47 years ago their government was overtaken by a religion. Again, nothing wrong with the Muslim religion, but there was an agenda there. And we as world power, we've been sitting by watching it and then being like, well, we're going to measure that based on their nuclear capacity and how they work with our ally in Israel, right? So I think, wow, this conversation goes many, many ways. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that bit about, like this isn't, we're not saying as women that it's women, right? We're saying it's the limiting feminine that we're looking at here. And the limiting feminine, a surefire sign of it is I'm against you and there's nothing that I'm for,
Yeah.
AKA victim. So
Right.
just wanted to break that down
Yep.
a little bit.
Yeah. And, if we're looking at the core countries that are showing signs of recalcitrance, especially in the last, let's say,
Sure,
5 years mostly, we're looking at China, Russia, Iran, or we could say, the Middle East in terms of the groups that are extremists. Okay, so
sure,
where's China getting their oil? If you want to know if how the oil conversation applies with Iran and why we're teaming up with Israel and looking at Iran in this way, there's a relationship with Iran and China with oil. So I'll let you do your research on that. But what I really want to get to in this moment is the victim within is the one that kills us in the end. So even
Yeah.
if you
yeah,
say, well, too bad, I don't want to own that, and that's their fault. Well, that's on you. You might think you're in the know, or ending up on top because you're refusing to let go, or you want to hold your stance. In the end, that is the ultimate. You know what jihad means? The holy war, and that's the war within. So ultimately, here it is. I'm at war with myself, and any place I'm putting blame out there, I'm probably doing the same with myself. To the degree that I'm a victim with anything or anybody out there is the degree that I'm a victim to my own authority. I appreciate you clarifying the masculine and feminine there, Jane. It's like
Yeah.
I've got masculine and feminine. My masculine, when it's, first of all, I do believe it's important for people to know that even as females, it's not just males, to be led by our masculine within ourselves
Hmm.
is key. The
Yeah.
yeah,
feminine force is an innie, like anatomy. It's to appreciate, to love, to nurture, to beautify, to create feels outward, but these are feminine qualities. Okay, then
yeah,
masculine is outie, authority, vision, direction, decision, conquer, demand, ruthlessness, etc. So here we are looking at masculine and feminine, and if I'm trying to or wanting to decide, be my own authority, meet my goals, succeed, have vision and direction, and meanwhile, my wrong order feminine is coming from a victim, I guarantee I'm having trouble with those qualities.
yeah,
Even if I think
absolutely.
it's only pointed out there, I guarantee there's an imbalance within. Okay.
Yeah,
So then I'm going to be a victim. I'm not going to support my masculine. I'm not nurturing and understanding, allowing. I'm not, what's what I'm looking for? Being flexible. You know, Again, this isn't about lying down. All of us are, me and both of you, we're women that know devotion. We know surrender. We're all in relationships. We're all women that can be ruthless and fierce and powerful and pretty freaking dominating. And on the other side, we
Mhm.
know that if our men are speaking to us in a certain way, if they're taking leadership, we know when we need to be devotional and surrender. Yes, we still have some stuff to learn, all of us, but we're doing fantastic and we're learning how to do these things. This creates right order within, right order in our relationships, right order out there. So it, again, I'm going to emphasize that whatever I feel or whatever I can see in my relationships out there is the relationship with I have with myself.
within,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just going to add on to that, Ami, real quick. The balance, right? Like something. It feels like sometimes we want to make it. It's like one thing or the other versus like
Mm-hmm.
it's the masculine and the feminine, right? It's
Yeah.
that Tao symbol. It's that
Synergy, right?
synergy of the two. And if you only have masculine, like you're missing all of the support and the love and the wisdom of the feminine. And if you only have the feminine, you don't have the drive and the visionary. And look, I'm laughing right now because I can remember like 20-year-old me would be like, "What? I'm a woman. I can do that. What do you mean?"
Oh, but that's a good
But
point. Yep.
and I say that out loud because I'm sure there's some of our listeners are like, "What are you saying?" And I'm saying, "Listen, it's both, and we are all of it. We are all of it."
Yeah. To use one of my favorite examples of yours, Ami's, the masculine is clear and certain and orders the pizza, and the feminine eats it.
Feeling like a true Taurus.
That's hilarious. What a good
Yeah.
example. Good stuff. Wow,
All
heavy
right.
hitting topics today. Woo.
No, so
Yeah,
I
I
love it. I
bet.
love the direction this went. And what feels like a very easy homework assignment, if you will, for our listeners is, where are you making something wrong, only looking at the problem, only against something? And I think it's a really powerful exercise. I'm myself going to go through that because again, it's insidious, right? Sometimes you're unconsciously doing it and you don't even realize it. And that opportunity to turn everything into a win, turn everything into an opportunity, it's always there. So I think that would be for me the takeaway I want our listeners to have, myself included, is do an inventory of where are you making someone wrong, where are you just viewing something as only a problem, and look at the flip side, look at what the ideal might be, what the opportunity might be, what the solution might be, and see what shifts that creates within yourself, and then hopefully in your external environment. What about for you guys? What comes up in terms of what takeaways you want our listeners to take on?
For me, in this moment, I'm going to recommend that you look at where you have penis envy. Okay, so this
Ooh.
includes men. Yes, beta males, you know who you are if you're a beta. Okay, you're looking at the other men, wishing that you could have it, or super envious and jealous that they have it. Right? What does this mean? I'm just looking at the masculine or other men if I'm a man, and I'm looking at what do they have that I don't, that I envy, that I'm jealous of, that I think I'm entitled to without earning, that they have that is superior to me, or I'm making it inferior despite the fact that it's in a superior position. These are all sort of clues, right? Like, again, jealousy, entitlement, envy, victim is the core of it. Like Jane was saying, the victim is the core of it. So where are you a victim? Where do you wish you had the power or you feel entitled to the power, versus giving yourself that power and honoring your own masculine, growing that part of you up enough to be able to demand it and command it in yourself.
Love it.
Wow, these
Bring
are
it.
great. Woo. Okay, so I had two come to mind. I'm feeling like sort of the flip side on me of what you just said. I love that. It is if you feel stuck on that, flip to what you really appreciate about it. Like about the masculine. So if it's tough at first to just say, "All right, I'm going to admit I have penis envy," right? Then like let me look at where I really appreciate what I appreciate about the masculine and start to own that as because if you can see it, you're being it, right? You spot it, you got it, right? So start to look at that because that's also super uncomfortable as well, where we put outside of us what's great. It's not me. Like, oh, that's not me. So that's one thing, and then the other is just to look at and contemplate like where did your beliefs start? Like where who we all I kept talking about society's beliefs, right? But we all had our own individual lives. And our parents did the very best they could, and the people who were important to us and the adults in our space. But where did these beliefs start? Just start to contemplate them and notice them and because when was the last time you sat down and was like, huh, where did I start to believe that I think there's something wrong over here, right? Like simple, but look at that. Just start to look. It's not something you normally do. Like, let me sit down and contemplate that, but it's really good and useful not to rehash the past, but you just get curious. Like, where did my parents teach me that? Did my teachers teach me that? Was it my best friend's mom who said this is how it goes? And just notice like, oh wow, well I can also make a decision now, but notice where your decisions came from.
Nice.
Amazing. All right. Well, you two, as always, were brilliant today. And since I created you two, I'm brilliant too. I'm gonna take
That's
the
right.
win. But this was a great episode, listeners. I hope you got a lot from this. And as always, share your feedback, good and bad. If you have questions, if there's an area that didn't quite hit that you want more depth on, let us know and we'll go there. So thank you both, and until next
Thanks, Wen.
time.
Awesome. Thank you.